red-handed denying reality while their own colleague explodes with righteous fury. What you're about to see here isn't just another media meltdown. This is the moment when whatever was left of the crumbs of the legacy media's credibility died on live TV. Stick me to the very end of this video, and you'll see not one but two knockout punches that left CNN scrambling in what many are calling the entire left-wing media apparatus's worst day yet. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness as the far left desperately tries to stop the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age that you are making happen all over the world. So if you want a front row seat on how you are changing the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, if you have not heard, we got a little surprise for you. I've started a new channel. That's right. If you're looking for clear, powerful insights to make sense of the world around us, but just in about like 60 seconds or so, little bites, well, check out my brand new Turley Clips channel. These are short, inspiring takes that'll help you think clearly so you can live courageously, rooted in timeless truths and hopeful trends. And I would really appreciate it if you would go on over there right now and subscribe and share it with your friends and family. Just click on that link below or search Turley Clips on YouTube and be sure to subscribe so you're always grounded and always ready. Thank you so much for that, gang. All right, let's dive right in here. Just when you thought you could not possibly hate the legacy media more, CNN once again comes through with new lows. CNN never, ever fails to deliver. It never fails to remind us that it is simply impossible to despise the legacy media enough. On CNN's Newsnight, something unprecedented happened. Scott Jennings, the lone conservative voice of sanity in a sea of liberal absurdity, absolutely demolished his fellow panelists with a simple and single question.
You have to kind of, but the internet is not real life.
Can I ask, though, everybody here acknowledges that there have been thousands upon thousands of people, ordinary people, who have taken to social media to celebrate this, yes or no?
I don't know about that.
I
don't know.
I have high school friends who are.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I just think we should just, we got to be factual about this, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you know the scope. I don't know the scope. But I do think that we have to distinguish between random people in the world and something that is a dominant issue.
Because the person who shot Charlie Kirk was a random person in the world, was he not?
Well, here's the thing.
That's the danger. You dismiss the random people of the world. They have access to weapons
assassinations
and
in
hateful
this country.
motivations.
There have been political assassinations in this country before, Scott. Wouldn't you agree? And they're all reprehensible. And in this country, do you believe that in those political assassinations in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, assassination attempts, that there were no Americans who cheered that on? I think the question is whether or not, is not whether or not it happens. The question is whether or not we need to place that at the very center of our political world right now and categorize half the people in the country according to those random people that we now just happen to see because of the internet.
You just heard that. You literally just saw that. That was as blatant of an example of gaslighting as you could possibly get. Did you notice how Abby Phillip, this borderline illiterate, do you notice how her response morphed? At first it was what? Well, we can't possibly know the number. No, you can't know that number. We can't know Scott. Scott, we can't know. And then as just the cacophony and the mayhem and the grinding and gnashing of teeth continued, she dug her grave deeper and finally settled with, well, do we really want to make that the center of our concern? I mean, I think of all the gaslighting that I've encountered in my life, that's got to be up there in the top 3. Everybody here can acknowledge that there were thousands upon thousands of people, ordinary people, actually professionals, who've taken to social media to openly and overtly celebrate this. Yes or no? We can acknowledge that, right? And the response was blah, 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 blah. And then Abby, Scott, there have been lots of assassinations. I mean, there was Lincoln, and there was Kennedy, and there was another Kennedy. There's been lots of assassinations, Scott, and there's always celebrations when there's assassinations, right, Scott? Right? I'm sorry. I mean, my editors will not like the words that are in the single word. No, the two words that are in my head right now. When was the last time a public figure, and keep in mind a non-politician, right? Everybody likes to bring up, what about the Minnesota legislature? And they don't even know her name half the time. What about her? She's a politician. Granted, terrible, horrible, but she's a politician. This was a journalist. This was a media personality. When was the last time someone like Charlie Kirk was gunned down in the presence of his wife and his young children, and then was openly and publicly celebrated and applauded and praised and macabrely cheered by doctors, by teachers, by professors, by pilots, by city councilmen, by local legislators, by professionals, all of whom reveled in the obscenely demonic notion that he deserved it. Who the F is the real monster here, Abby? Don't you think that should be at the center of what we're talking about? Do we really have to remind you of the, yes, thousands across the country that are currently getting their asses rightly fired because of their morally monstrous online antics? Do you not think that this horrifying revelation that the educated among us, the professional class, are inundated with people who have more in common with Al Qaeda than America? You don't think that's news? Now, while CNN hosts were playing dumb, and I'm being generous with that, the evidence is obviously overwhelming. Blue Sky, the ultra-left-wing Twitter alternative, better known as Sewer, had to issue warnings to its users because assassination celebration posts were so prevalent on the platform. It was that flipping bad. And that's all anyone had to acknowledge. If you're interested in news, that's all you had to acknowledge. Scott Jennings says thousands were celebrating this online, yes or no? All you needed was one person on that pathetic excuse for a panel to go, well, yeah, I mean, Blue Sky did have to issue a warning. It was so prevalent. But of course, that would mean that these left-wing lunatics would need to be in touch with reality. And being in touch with reality would require them to see how their lunacy has now patently embraced the darkest of evils. But Scott wasn't through with them. He still had some more.
You said I am angry, and I'm just telling. I am channeling the emotions of millions of conservatives who are angry. They knew Charlie. They loved Charlie. They viewed Charlie as a mainstream conservative Republican voice who talked about issues that millions of Americans believe. He also talked about his faith. And he did it by going to college campuses, which are not normally hospitable to conservatives, and offering his opponents a microphone to have what we always say.
In support of what? In support of what?
Civil discourse.
Not only that, but support of the First Amendment.
And
he
guess what?
He made sure that people had an opportunity to stand in a room and talk.
He was murdered trying to do what we always say. Why don't we talk to each other? So yes, there is. It's not even been a week. So you're going to have to give us a little grace on being angry about somebody who did what you always say that we should do. Let's talk.
We didn't
and
get
he got killed.
grace over,
and he got
more
killed.
than a week's grace over
So,
two Michigan elected officials who were murdered? Did we give, was it 3 weeks before we decided to say that there was something wrong with Speaker Pelosi's husband being hit in the head with a hammer?
By a homeless drug addict? I mean, it was terrible that happened. This is not the same kind of case. This is a according to the local officials, as Ellie just told us, a clear political motivation of a guy that a lot of us held dear, that a lot of us considered to be somebody who a mainstream voice. He was not an extremist. He was a mainstream voice.
Pelosi's attacker may have been mentally ill, but he was also politically motivated. I also think.
Yeah, we do not hate the legacy media enough. That moral equivalence between what happened to Charlie and the tampon Tim Waltz freak who killed the Minnesota legislator and her husband, it's all part of the gaslighting. Montel Williams is a disgrace to humanity. But if you thought it ended there, wait until you see this. This is the best takedown of them all. But this last week really isn't the only thing that the left is trying to gaslight. Democrats, along with unelected bureaucrats at the FDA, are working overtime to put supplements like NMN in the hands of Big Pharma and out of yours. Now, if you don't know NMN, I take it every day. It's a natural supplement which is vital for the functioning of the 37 trillion cells in your body and which can help reduce weight, cholesterol, and even blood pressure in overweight adults, meaning it not only slows down but can functionally reverse aging. I swear by it. Again, I take it every single day, and don't just take my word for it. Here's Professor David Sinclair from the Center for the Biology of Aging at Harvard Medical School talking about it on Joe Rogan.
So about 20 years ago, Lenny Guarente and a team of us at MIT discovered a set of genes that controls aging in yeast cells, just brewer's yeast, what you find in beer and bread. And those genes are called sirtuins, and there are 7 of them in our bodies, 5 in yeast. And what they do is they protect all organisms on the planet, plants, bacteria, humans, from deterioration and disease. They're like the Pentagon. They sense when we're hungry, sense when we're exercising, and they send out the troops to defend us. So when you put more of these genes into a yeast cell or a mouse, they'll live longer, between 5 to 20% longer. And so we think that these genes are responsible for the effects of dieting and exercise, which is great. What that means is we can now mimic that with molecules. So NMN is one of those molecules.
Now, NMN works so well that the FDA is moving to take it off the supplement shelves. On September 30th, they're going to decide whether it stays a supplement or it gets reclassified as a drug. And if that happens, you won't be able to get it without a prescription because now pharmaceutical companies are going to control it. Now, like I said, I've been taking NMN every single day for months now. It's amazing. I run faster and longer. I think clearer. I have more energy to create videos for you guys. And our good friends over at Black Forest Supplements have agreed to an amazing buy one, get one free 48-hour deal. So it's a great opportunity to stock up. Don't wait. Click on that link below right now and get your hands on NMN before any potential restrictions come into play. Black Forest Supplements is ready to fight for this, and so are we. Click on that link below for this limited time buy one, get one free offer right now. The media meltdown continued when Senator Ted Cruz appeared on CNN and absolutely obliterated Caitlin Collins' utterly ridiculous claim that we don't yet know the motive for Kirk's assassination. Cruz did not just push back. He fact-checked her live on air.
You said a lot there, and we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governor's had to say, what the FBI director said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know
we don't have a motive yet.
What's
really?
happening with?
Really, that's CNN's position.
I mean, from law enforcement,
he just happened
Senator.
to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive.
Senator, that's not what I said, and I said law enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. They've laid out a lot of evidence here of these messages and what
actually
the
they
shooter
have.
said
They've
to
said that
family
he was a
members
left-wing
and to
activist who
roommates.
hated Charlie Kirk. Pardon?
Senator, with all due respect, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you politically. I'm saying that law enforcement has not put a specific motive. You know that there's a difference of what they're putting in a legal argument than what you're talking about. And you're not even we're not even arguing about the facts
what
here.
What you just said is false,
Senator,
Caitlin.
No.
Caitlin, facts. Hold on a second. Let me answer your statement because what you said is factually
Senator, with
false.
all due respect,
law enforcement.
With all due respect, you're putting a lot of statements
okay, go ahead,
that I did not say. And I want to get back to. We just laid out the facts.
You
in the
just
opening
said
of the
law
show,
enforcement has not laid out a motive.
today.
That is objectively
and we just spoke to the
false.
Deputy Attorney General.
That is objectively false.
Yeah, that's Ted Cruz, the trial lawyer, coming out for sure. And that mental midget, Caitlin Collins, is simply no match, obviously so. Ted Cruz is absolutely right. Collins and CNN were blatantly lying there. That was a lie. They were flagrantly lying. The evidence is absolutely crystal clear. Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old killer, admitted killer, had expressed hatred for Kirk, believing Kirk himself was full of hate, and that hate was beyond discussion. It had to be eliminated. Utah Governor Spencer Cox confirmed Robinson was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. The bullet casings bore anti-fascist inscriptions, and Robinson's own text messages revealed his political motivation. Had this been the other way around, had a leftist influencer been gunned down like this by some kind of right-wing nut, CNN would be casting the blame all over Republicans 24/7. And this is because of CNN's commitment to what we call advocacy journalism, which by definition weaponizes the press on behalf of left-wing activism. This kind of mindless drivel that gets spewed regularly from Caitlin Collins' forked tongue is really the logical and inevitable outworking of what happens when the legacy media's ideological frames refuse to ever allow left-wing violence to itself be the story. You'll notice that whenever there's right-wing violence, the fact that it is right-wing is always the story. J6 forever defines the moment of MAGA, right? Or it's forever the defining moment of MAGA. It's forever the defining moment of the Trump presidency. J6. Right-wing violence is the story. But whenever we see left-wing violence, the legacy media never, ever allows that fact to itself be the story. Doesn't matter whether we're dealing with congressional baseball shootings to the assassination attempts of both a former president and a conservative Supreme Court justice. It doesn't matter if we're dealing with trans shooters deliberately targeting Christian schools. The fact that they were inspired by left-wing causes is always marginalized, or it diverts for a call to gun control. But of course, it's worse. It's worse than that. Here's what the legacy media is really trying to so desperately gaslight. This assassination, as you know, was not random. It was the inevitable result of years of left-wing radicalization, calling conservatives fascists and Nazis, most especially from the venomous lips of CNN anchors and panels. That is what CNN is ultimately trying to gaslight you on. They're trying to gaslight you into the lie that they had nothing to do with this at all, when in point of fact, their ideological fingerprints are all over it. The killer's own words prove it. The insignia inscribed on his ammo casings prove it. His very life proves it. This was political terrorism. And CNN, to their everlasting shame, was a part of it. The game changer here, of course, is that now conservatives are fighting back like never before. We're getting these moral monsters who celebrated Charlie's killing fired all across the country. We're organizing and registering Republicans at 4 times the rate we ever did before Charlie was shot. And we are dismissing the old, decaying relic of cable news outlets like CNN and MSNBC to be nothing more than the irrelevant vomit that they have become. Their days have truly come to an end. Ours are just beginning. And we're doing it all for Charlie. All right, gang, that's a wrap. Now, if you want the latest updates and some behind-the-scenes goodies, head on over to turley.pub/news and sign up for our newsletter. Big things are always coming.